Hey everybody, and welcome back to another SAC Reviews, and today we are looking at Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 for the PC, PlayStation 5 and Xbox, with all footage here captured on PS5 in performance mode. From the developers at Saber Interactive, Space Marine 2 is the sequel to 2011's Space Marine that picks up around 200 years after the first game, where we continue to follow Titus on his journey through the intergalactic war, with the enemy this time around being the Tyranids, a race of bug-like aliens with the sole purpose of consuming organic material and obeying the hive mind. While this will remain a spoiler-free review, let me just get this out of the way. I am not a 40k expert. I'm not the most knowledgeable of the lore. Growing up as a kid, I played a lot of the tabletop game. Army of choice was always the Necrons, because as a kid they reminded me of the Terminators. I regularly went to public game events at my local games workshop, but I've never read any of the books or dove into the lore, and as far as the video games go, I've only ever played a couple of the real-time strategy games in the past. So while I'm not exactly new to this world, I am reasonably out of the loop. Having said that though, I really had a great time with this game. The story does a good job at getting you up to speed of the world, the main character Titus, and the story itself is very easy to follow even if you are coming into this completely blind to the world of 40k. It's not exactly a deep story, it's not exactly winning any awards in the writing department, but what's here is more than serviceable, and I found myself surprisingly invested and feeling for the characters more than I thought I would going into this. Now again, without going into spoilers, there's definitely moments of doubt and thoughts of betrayal that really had me on the edge of my seat, not wanting certain things to happen to these characters that were starting to grow on me. It's a short campaign taking roughly 10 to 12 hours to complete, depending on what difficulty you play it on, but in an age of games that are pushing for that 180 to 200 hour experience, Space Marine 2 is a breath of fresh air in the gaming landscape, showing that you don't always have to be this massive open world game with 40-50 hours story and over 100 hours of side content. You know, sometimes you can just focus on being a good game. And outside of the campaign, there's also lots of multiplayer. You have PvE options like Operations, where you play out scenarios alongside Titus's main campaign, showing what the other Space Marines were doing while he was doing his missions, and these are made for 3-player parties that allow full customization of your Space Marine, and there are a lot of colours and designs for you to unlock the more you play, and most importantly, all of these new colour schemes and armour types, they're all unlocked just by playing the game. There are no microtransactions in this game, and it hurts that this should even be a positive or a talking point in this day and age, but that's just the state that gaming's in now. Unlike other games with online character customization, Space Marine gets it, and it rewards you for your time rather than charging you for it. There's also PvP options for up to 12 players in 6v6 matches. There's Annihilation, where it's the first team to reach 50 kills, Seize the Ground, which is Space Marine's King of the Hill, with 3 separate areas for each team to try and maintain control of and Capture and Control, where the 2 teams are fighting to control a single area that's constantly changing locations throughout the map every 90 seconds or so. There's 6 separate classes to pick from, each with a unique playstyle, my personal favourite being the Bulwark. The PvP is short and sweet, with matches rarely lasting more than 10 minutes, but for me the PvE mode was the highlight of this game. As much as I enjoyed the story and the campaign and how rapid fire and snappy the PvP matches were, for me just being able to jump in with a friend and play through these missions, slowly cranking up the difficulty against the Tyranid hordes, it was an absolute blast. And I'll just go ahead and address the elephant in the room. This game is easily the most fun I've had in multiplayer since Helldivers 2 when that first launched. The gameplay is tight, it feels heavy, you feel heavy, but in a good way. The Space Marines aren't meant to be these agile assassins or anything, they're walking tanks, and you can feel it in the way the DualSense rumbles with every step you take, the way just one swing of your melee weapon can take out half a dozen small enemies at once, with the melee even having a parry mechanic, which was something I definitely wasn't expecting in this game, but something that just feels right and really satisfying when you pull it off when you're in the middle of these massive skirmishes. The impact of coming down to the ground from a jetpack attack, the guns, all of the guns, they all feel great. And while you develop your own favourites based on your own playstyle, there's some that are straight up situational. If you see a heavy weapon spawn in or a flamethrower, then chances are that's going to be really handy coming up in the future. The graphics in this game are stunning. The overall quality in the cutscenes, for one, are just simply breathtaking, but when it transitions back into the gameplay, you really don't lose that much. Finer details like the wear and tear on the armour, the blood you get covered in the more you play, the sheer brutality of the executions you can pull off, it all looks incredible. And having not dipped my toe into the 40k universe in some time now, I've got to say, seeing all these Space Marines, Tyranids, the Battle Barge, all of the machines of war, They looked so good, and it's really given me an itch to get back into the tabletop game again. As mentioned up top, I played in performance mode and really didn't notice much of a drop in fidelity when switching, and with the exception of one, maybe two cutscenes, I didn't experience any frame drops at all in the whole time I played it. As for the sound design, while nothing particular stands out as special, it does help to enhance the experience. Like with the heavy gameplay, the different sounds of all the weapons give an appropriate emphasis to the impact they should have, whether it's the buzzing of the chainsaw, the slash of a power sword, the scream of the Tyranids followed by the crunch as you rip through their bones. Everything adds to the immersion of the world, and the voice acting is in the same place. A game like Space Marine 2, like I said, isn't going to be winning any awards for its writing, but that's not what this game is here for. And all of the cast do a great job at portraying these absolute badass, brutal soldiers that have one thing on their mind: fight for the Emperor. There's not too much in terms of score that stands out. It's a lot of ambience, but it does the job well, and when you hit those big battles and the score does start to swell, it's definitely noticeable. Right now, the only thing I'd have to comment on negatively is something the developers have already addressed and said they're working on, which is the state of the multiplayer. Right now, there's a bug going around for PvE that gives you an infinite loading screen when you try to join your friend's game, or even worse, when you've finished a mission, meaning that you can't collect any of your XP or rewards. But the community have found a way around this by turning off crossplay, which is alright for now, and in the PvP, the overall balancing, it's a bit of a mess, I'll be honest. I can't count the number of times I've played a match where I'm on a team that's mostly level 1 players, going up against a team whose lowest player is a level 5 or 6 and whose highest player more than doubles anyone on the team, and vice versa. I've been on the unfair side as well at this point. But again, Saber Interactive have already addressed this and hope to have a patch out in the near future. All in all, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 isn't just a great time, but it's an eye-opener to the state of gaming today. Like I said at the beginning of this, not everything has to be that next-gen 200+ hour experience that's going to break the world. Not everything needs to break the mold, or try to innovate on formulas that we know don't work. Sometimes a game just needs to focus on one thing, and that's being a good game. Space Marine 2 is a badass game. The gameplay is fun, the variety's there, the monetization doesn't exist. This is just a great time whether you want to play it solo, with a friend for hours on end, or even just jump in and out of some quick PvP matches to kill a bit of time if you've not got that long. Whatever it is, this game's got you covered. And that's why I'm giving Space Marine 2 a 5 out of 5. Have you played Space Marine 2 yet? If you have, tell us what you thought of it in the comments below, and what you want to be added in the game in the future. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and as always, thanks for watching.